If you could say to Black America, here is more money, more stuff, more housing, or more fathers, which one would you choose?
More funding. I don't think, because fathers, I think that you need to solve the problem from the bottom. I don't think you can just plant a bunch of fathers in and they're going to stay there.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Blue. We're here. We're back with another video. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So this was going to be from Charles Kirk. I honestly thought that after the election that, his college visits was going to die down a bit, but it seems like he still got stuff that he got to tell the young people, tell the college folk, let them know it was good, let them know, give them different perspective and something to, really think about as opposed to some of the stuff that they may have heard of. So let's go ahead and get right into it. This one's going to be the Charlie Kirk tells students the truth about Black culture he's never heard before. Should be very interesting. Let's dig into it. As always, guys, support the channel. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe, and hit that bell. We're almost at 1,000, and it's almost the end of the year. Can we hit 1,000? It's up to you. Let's go ahead and dig right into it.
Right? So when segregation ended, right, Black people, or when slavery ended, actually, Black people were just forced wherever, right? So they had nowhere to go. And then there was laws put in place to put them into prison, and after...
Okay. It's okay. No. What's your name? Guys, what's your name?
Jackson.
It takes a lot of courage to come up here.
Yeah, no,
Let's just take a deep breath. I'm not here to pick on you.
No,
and I appreciate it. No, it's okay. I know this can be very intimidating getting into a crowd like this, so just take a deep breath. Let me make your argument. I'm going to make your argument for you, and I'm going to tell you why.
I know exactly how homie feels right now. Like when it came to public speaking and like just talking in general, it may not seem like I was a very jittery person or not talkative person, but honestly, this like just talking was not a me thing. I mean, low key is still not a me thing, but like I'm looking at his hands and I could see the trembling and just trying to speak something of your mind and like just the nervousness. Like I recall being in that stage, and I feel for the homie. I feel for.
Well, I think it's wrong. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So the argument that is being made that you want to make is that there's legacies of injustice.
Yes.
And that those legacies impact one generation after the other. And when those things get handed down, you have what is a system or a systemic issue that isn't just isolated in 2024. So the argument that you're making is that what happened in 1954 does impact 2024 of decade after decade after decade. Let me tell you my response to that. Of course, there is some truth to that. However, every culture, every person in this audience can point to issues that families or generations prior had that we're able to overcome. So the question is, why is it that Black America is one of the only populations, that and Native American populations, that have not been able to overcome such evil, horrors, and injustices? Here's my perspective, and I want to hear what you have to say, is that the number one way to keep people out of poverty, lower the crime rate, and have a better society is whether or not you have a mom and a dad around. Would we agree that's an ideal? Yeah? Cool.
And he's big on that.
So what happened in 1964 is that 25% of Black youth were raised by a single mom. Today, it's nearly 75%, about 70%. So that means that 1 in 4 Black kids will have a father around. Only 1 in 4.
And I worked with the school system not too long ago. I can attest that this is true. Majority of the kids at the school only live with their mom. Dad is not around. Even when I was working at Chico's warehouse, all of the women, which all of them were women, all of which that had kids, they were single moms. I don't know any of them that was married. And I knew everybody, all of them that was in rotations, the one that was there for a long time and the one that would come, leave, all of them single mothers, unfortunately. And it's terrible.
That's the number one issue happening in the country, and it's not because of systemic racism. I'd like to hear what you have to say about that.
Okay, so I think I misjudged you at first. Like when you brought up the 1350 stat, I had like just assumed that it was like inherently like eugenics based kind of, So, and that's where mine came from. Like I think we are on the same page that like we know what the problem is, and that's what I mean. Like
thank you for saying that, because I think we actually have a lot more in common in this country than the media would ever believe.
No, definitely, right? And like what my point was, I was trying to say is I don't think that we're doing enough to help these Black communities catch up. Where as like they're underfunded and they're not, and they're over policed, and there's just these factors that are contributing.
That's not going to help anything. That's not going to help anything at all. You can't fix a group of people by giving them more money that's constantly been in a situation for years. This is a mindset issue. This is a culture issue. Money isn't going to fix culture.
To, like you said, these single parent households.
Yeah,
like,
so we're not going to agree on this. This is where we'll disagree, and that's okay. I have more of a view of Thomas Sowell on this, where he believes it's far more about culture, values, and worldview than stuff and over-policing. I believe there's not enough police in black neighborhoods. You're going to disagree with that. Let's not even get into it, okay? But I think we can ask a question, and I want your opinion. Why is it that the single motherhood rate in black America went from 25% to 75% over 50 years, where America did become less racist?
Culture.
like, why did it?
Yeah, so what caused black America to go from one of the strongest nuclear family communities in the country to now the weakest by far?
I can't answer your question.
No, that's okay. No, that's great. And is, again, it's hard to get up and have these conversations. Here's my opinion. My opinion is that, yes, there was some social welfare that subsidized single motherhood, which means it's easier to get cash from the government if you say you are single than if you are married. I think we can agree that's stupid. That shouldn't happen, right? But I would love your perspective on this. Do you think in black culture, getting married and staying with one woman for your entire life is elevated and celebrated?
No.
No, not at all.
I think that's the problem.
I think the problem stems from,
Again, the culture. People, especially in the black community, they rely heavy on the music. They rely heavy on celebrities. They rely heavy on the kind of methods of getting money without needing to go through the whole school route and stuff like that, which I get. But the problem with these entities is that they hold little value on family. They don't care about family. So if you're a dude that's out here just trying to make it big, trying to get to NBA, NFL, and like trying to be a celebrity, singer and all that stuff, a rapper, a rapper and stuff like that, you can't care for family because family requires sacrifice, and you can't put the sacrifice on something that's not going to benefit you because that's just going to deter you from reaching your goal. You can say the same thing about corporate America, but you do things in corporate America so that you can take care of your family, or else I think a lot of people wouldn't be working in corporate America. You don't become a rapper to take care of your family and then it doesn't and you just do it just for your family. You become a rapper because you want to be a rapper. Become an NBA player because you want to become an NBA player. The only person that I know who's a celebrity that doesn't care for where the industry that they're working at is Jokic. And he's literally said he doesn't care too much about basketball. He just wants to go back to his country and take care of his horses. That's the only person I know that would actually say something like that in public. But outside of that, like, this whole culture, this whole mindset is very selfish, and it doesn't call for you to make a family in order to get there. So they don't advertise it. And thus, when you have men that are like this, have this type of mindset, even the women that have this type of mindset, then why would you try to put in the family first mentality, being with one spouse, being with your kids, raising your kids up and stuff like that? You have to not care about whatever it is that you're doing and use that as just a means to an end, but your main purpose is for your kids. But that's not what the culture teaches, by no means.
From a lack of education. I think these communities don't have, I don't think a lot of them have the proper education or learning from previous to realize what will lead them to a more successful future. I think that if we funded more education in these systems, then these men wouldn't be so focused on stuff like gang violence to get protection or money or
you have a
other
great
stuff like that, and then end up in prison and then end up with their child having a single mother.
Fair enough. So
there's a point there.
No.
I can agree with him. There's some truth there, yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of examples that there's some merit to your argument, but it's more about the quality of education than the amount of money we spend on it.
Right.
Such as, that's why I'm a big proponent of school choice and educational vouchers and opposing the teacher unions. But the core is that the number one predictor for a kid of any skin color, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, is whether or not dad is around.
Right.
And I look as an outsider, albeit, at current black culture, right? From the athletes to the rap music to the music, I don't see the nuclear family elevated. Nor is it an internal black cultural expectation. Now, I will ask some of the white individuals here in this audience, okay? If you guys got pregnant and all of a sudden you didn't even know who the father was around, how would your parents react? Not great, right? Yes? Unfortunately, in black America, this is kind of accepted. Would you agree?
I can't say. I grew up around a lot of white people, so I can't
All right,
say.
okay.
Like,
Well, so, but it is a fact that it is
sure.
accepted, right? So that's the problem. The problem is that it's a cultural norm that has then turned into the cycle of poverty. The cycle of poverty can break very quickly if fathers stayed with the women they impregnate.
But most of these fathers aren't just leaving. A large majority of these fathers are ending up in prison. Like
Okay,
this is
good point. Why do you go to prison?
because you commit crimes. But
okay,
because
yeah.
the prison system has been targeted against minorities.
Again, we're not.
And that's the weird thing in regards to the, you can say that, but at the end of the day, if you commit the crime and you happen to get caught and go to jail, then you go to jail. I don't know. I've been seeing way too many people use that as an excuse, and at the same time, I've been seeing way too many people that come up from impoverished areas, and because again they had both parents in the household, they were able to make good decisions and get out of said hood. They didn't become rappers, they didn't become celebrities, they didn't become sports stars and nothing like that. They just did what they had to with the morals, with the values that their parents had taught them, and they were able to get out of the situation that they were in. And that's a heavy thing. That's where the education part that I see where homie's saying, but it's a different type of education. It's just you just educating, just like teaching and trying to disciple your kids and trying to just bring them up and stuff like that. It's not just, oh, you got to send them to school, because you're sending anybody to school and clearly they're either going to learn, they're not going to learn. But if you instill in them that, hey, we need to get an education so that we can get to a point where we're becoming decent people in society and be able to have skill sets that allow you to get paid for said skill sets so that you can take care of yourself and hopefully your spouse and your kids, then that's when you really become that individual that, doesn't have to worry too much or doesn't have to worry about crime and such. But if you only have one parent in the house who's always working or really doesn't care much about how you're being raised up, they're just worrying about the money that they get from the government or from their baby daddy and, flashing out all the money and stuff like that, then that's what the kid is going to know and grow up with. That money is a necessity to get the things that you want. And then you get caught in these situations where they try to find the quickest way to get money. Nobody's trying to sit here and wait to get an education to get money and stuff like that. No.
Not going to agree here.
Right,
and that's okay.
Yeah.
There's actually under enforcement of the laws when it comes where there's, for example, only half of murders in Chicago get solved.
Right, but are they all black people though?
Almost all of them, yeah. Like 80,
Well,
80
if they're not solved, how do we know that they're black people?
Well, because it's a black victim in a black neighborhood by a black gang. So it's like you can assume at a great approximation that in the west side of Chicago,
50% of the murders in Chicago that go unsolved are all black people.
not all.
Dead
No, I said 85%. But we don't know who the perp is. But again, if you have a black victim at 2 a.m. in a black neighborhood, it's reasonable to say that it was a black on black crime. 90% of murders after 2 a.m. in Chicago are black on black crimes. I'm from Chicago.
Right.
I happen to know it.
So,
right. But like half of all murders in Chicago are unsolved, that means half of all murderers are walking free. So we have an under enforcement of laws. We have the ladies here in this audience should know this. You know that there's over 600,000 rape kits in this country that have not even been opened or tested, which means that there are women who say that they've been raped and their kits are not even put in the system. There are probably hundreds of thousands of rapists that walk free in this country.
Yeah, no, our system is
no.
Totally
What I'm saying though, that's an under enforcement of laws, though.
Yeah, because our system is terrible.
No, I know, but you said we have an over enforcement. I don't think we have enough people in jail.
You don't think we have enough people?
No, like I said, half of all murderers walk free. We don't even know who they are.
Okay, but I sure, whatever. But I'm talking. I don't think that I don't think that black people are as more than 50% of exonerations from prison are black people. Like a black person is more likely than any other race to be tried for a crime that they did not commit, and then to be released from prison for a crime that they did not commit.
That's not totally true. Let's pretend that it is. It's because they're in front of the justice system more because of the high crime. But let's try to find some agreement.
I'm talking percentages of exonerations. Like they're
No, it's because they're in the system more, though. It's because you have more cases. But anyway, let's pretend that's true. Let's pretend the system's totally racist.
Actually, there's more white people in the system because white people make up like
no, for sure.
So you're just incorrect there, right? Like you're doing to me.
But they don't commit as many crimes.
Okay, so
I've been
let's be cordial.
What is
let's
happening?
Be cordial.
What is
You're not
happening?
being, so let's calm down a little bit, okay?
You're
So,
not being.
Am I being sweet to this guy?
Okay, but
all right. Let me ask you one question in closing, though. If you could say to Black America, here is more money, more stuff, more housing, or more fathers, which one would you choose?
more funding. I don't think because fathers. I think that you need to solve the problem from the bottom. I don't think you can just plant a bunch of fathers in and they're going to stay there. Like you said, they're just going to.
I think he means
in the culture.
fathers
it's
that's actually going to
it's not part
stay.
of the culture, so they would just
No,
leave.
it's a hypothetical, meaning if the fathers were to stay.
Were to stay?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. If I just knew for 100% fact that they were going to stay.
No,
sure.
we have agreement. So during the BLM stuff 4 years ago, did we hear anything from the national BLM leaders or anybody about black dads staying around with women they impregnate? Did anyone mention that?
No.
Why? They're actually, it's the fundamental issue. The fundamental issue is if you have a father around, less likely to commit crimes, more likely to graduate high school, more likely to get a job, less likely to be in poverty.
How do we get there? Like, this is what I'm like.
No,
how do we get there?
Well, the first of which is you must raise the standard of expectation, both internally and externally in the black community, that we're not going to put up with men, because we're both men, fleeing the women that they impregnate.
Yeah.
That we will say to men that flee the women that they impregnate, you're a loser, we're not going to tolerate you, we're not going to be friends with you, that you're the scum of the earth, that if you impregnate a woman and you just run away from them.
Most definitely.
Do we do that right now?
I don't think all men do. I think this is very common. What's the word I'm looking? I think this is very common in just masculine culture in general. Is that men won't do that too?
I actually think it's the opposite of masculine culture. I think it's not feminine. It's something else.
No.
Just fleeing from the difficult.
Well, no, but I'm saying in male circles. I feel like that is something that males would praise, or at least around my age range. That's something that happens.
So then I think we need to demand better. Thank you for coming up to the mic. I know it's not easy.
I was feeling what Homeboy was saying, and it's really less so to me the fact of the funding. Like, his mindset is about, funding the people. We need to give more money to the government. I mean, it's kind of the same thing that I was talking to my wife about not too long ago when it comes to the situation that the Haiti is. We're not going to fix Haiti by just sending them money. That's not how it's going to work. They need to rebuild their economic system. They need to rebuild their job markets. I mean, they need to rebuild people as a whole. There's too many gangs, too much crimes, a corrupt government, and the country itself is already poor, so it doesn't make it easy to change things up. But money isn't going to solve that, because you just got the corrupt government that's going to try and siphon all the money that you make. The government needs to change. The people need to have a change in their mindset. And there needs to be more work available and something that could sustain the country as a whole. The same thing happens here. We can't just think that if we just throw money at black people that they're going to make good decisions with the money. If they're broke before, you can give them $100,000. They're just going to be broke again. Unless they just have, now granted, depending on who you're talking to, they may choose different. But from what I'm seeing, for those that just sit on the TikTok, sit on their phones, don't do nothing to educate themselves, don't do nothing to build any type of skill set so that they can try to move up in the world, so that they can better themselves and thus get married, have a spouse, and then have kids. If that's not their mindset, then they're not going to try and do better. So throwing money at them is not going to make anything better. It starts with what happens at the house, what happens with, the morals that you're teaching your kids, what happens with the values that you're teaching your kids. The next generation, we got to pour into them as much as we can. You could be dirt rock poor. I know a couple of people that are doing very well right now, and that grew up poor, but they managed to do what they need to and stuck with the morals that they were given and now doing better for themselves. But that came from having both the parents in the household. There's not that many people that I know that live in a single parent household that are doing too well if they're not an athlete or rapper or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but that number is very low and they're doing what they want to. And a lot of times they're not going to try and put in the effort to try and uplift those below them. Some of them are, again, some of them are. But if we're going to make that real change in the Black community, it has to happen with all these rappers, all these high artists. They need to put the emphasis of staying with your spouse, not going here having 1,000 kids and just doing what you want and having that lack of self-control. It's really a matter of your mind and just reshaping it. The same thing that it says in John 17:2. I mean, when you really think about it and you see the world and you see Black culture as a whole, and you see how the majority of Black people fit into that subspace of the Black culture, and you see their morals, you see their mentality, just like Kirk was saying, like, it's not praised to be married. They talk about, oh, Black marriage, Black couple, Black love, this, that, and the third. But I'm seeing a lot of these Black couples not to do too hot. It's not often that I see Black couples that stay together very long. A lot of people, especially in my generation, are getting divorces because they're just living their lives for themselves and not really considering the other person. And it goes two ways. It can't just be one way. I don't know. Interesting video nonetheless. I hope homeboy learned something. Definitely glad to be digging back into these. And we'll see what happens next time. As always, like, subscribe, and hit that bell. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Take it easy. Peace.